Hello everyone. So today we're going to be reviewing a project that I've been working on for the past month and a half or so. So I became interested in learning the Spring Boot framework alongside Docker hosting and deployment for Java here. And so we're going to be looking at the culmination of a project that I piggybacked off of, or rather I created and whatnot, worked on to learn what I need to do to make this work. So I'm going to be kind of glossing over the code, and then we'll be looking into everything else. So first things first, obviously we have this class here normally is this is the entry point for this. This line of code here is always there when you generate these projects. However, this here, the create an instance of my database singleton, is more so I can create objects from here. So we have this DB singleton here, which just connects to the database once you create it and sets the instance up. So it goes and locates the inventory.database, which is here if you're running it from this program, and it is going to be found somewhere else if you are running it from the Docker stuff. And then I have a generic function here which takes an extension of DB model, which creates an array list based off of the prepared query that you send it. So looking at where that goes to the models, got a couple of classes. So database model, it just is a super class that enforces that we should have classes that have result set constructors and default constructors. Inheriting from that is the electric Marimba class. So this is the one and only model that we have currently within this project. So the project scope is basically an electric Marimba company that's renting them out, and so you're basically looking at the website, and this would be a back-end website, and you would be able to test renting out products. You would be able to see the front page. You'd be able to see the management. Basically, this is a site that both customers and users of the program from the actual company would use, except I just didn't put in login information for the management side of things because, frankly, I could not be bothered. It's very simple code anyways if I did. So for the electric Marimba itself, we have these fields here, which are all stored within the local SQLite database. Now, those of you who have been around the channel long enough know that I did SQLite in every single language that I know how to program in, including Java. So unsurprisingly, this is all going to be using SQLite. For an actual Spring Boot with Docker project, you would more likely than not host the database yourself. Since this is a file-based database, I have to just hook it. I had to hook it into the actual Docker itself. So we also have a lowercase condition here, which is just something I use for formatting later. And so the default constructor is this. And then we use a parameterized one to generate everything on the back end. So when you create, specifically when you add a new Marimba, we create a Marimba using this, and then we use that to insert a new row into our database. The electric Marimba, this is the constructor used by the actual by the database singleton to create an array list of these. So note that it has the result set, and it just pulls the columns from them. So all I have to do to create models for this is just create the constructor. The other function does the rest for me. And then these getters and setters are mandatory. The way that they are spelled is specific to Spring Boot. Originally I had it to where it wasn't camel case, it was snake case, where the G is also capital here, and all of my fields had capital first letters, which caused issues whenever I did my time leaf HTML dynamic HTML stuff. So moving on from that, we have this one here is just a declaration of an enum telling you what the condition of the marimba is, new, used, or refurbished. This one is just to convert the condition to a string. This is just a converter that I have. So moving on to the actual controller. For those interested, by the way, this is the Docker. This is the Docker file that I use to create the container image, etc. for this project whenever I created it in Docker. So moving on to the controller, I have this segmented quite nicely. So we have the index and home page. So effectively all we have is just a redirect and a home mapping. For the management page, we have the one where it basically is just you've gone to management, and so all it has to do is get all the marimbas from the website, from the database. So it creates a prepared statement and then passes that along and pulls out the array list of that class, and then we add it to the model of that page. What this does is the name marimbas is a key that we use to access all the marimbas that we have in here, so we can do stuff like for loops within HTML. Those of you who have also been around the channel when I did Blazor and or Razor with C#.net, we did something similar back then with CS/HTML, and those who whenever I do Django will see that it's also kind of similar there with the HTML stuff there. So then we use this update post mapping. This is used as a semi-redirect in a way, so that I don't have to display the ID. If I just went straight to this, the ID would be displayed in the URL, which is not something I wanted. So I just chained it to go to this. So this just chains in, and so we create a prepared statement where we pass in the ID so we can get a specific one, the specific marimba that we wish to edit. And so we get the list of it there. If the size is not 0, then we're just gonna go to edit, but that's with nothing there. Otherwise, we pull the first one that's in the array, which there should only be one, because identifier is a PK. Then we need to add the marimba to the page, and then we add the conditions to the page. This is just a reference to that enum that I referenced earlier. So next up is the update marimba. So the edit marimba was just to simply go to the editing page for that marimba. The update page or update function here is specifically whenever you're done editing the marimba. So I say I've gone in there and I've changed a couple of these things. Whenever we come back, we'll parse the rented because checkboxes are weird with how they work with forms here. If you don't put in a value, so if the checkbox is unchecked, it will not return anything. So it has to default return false. If it's checked, it will return true. So I have it to where it'll say no matter what, it'll return true and false if you have it checked, and it'll return double false or single false, one of the two, whenever it's not checked. So if we contain true within it, we will say that we have rented. Then we create our prepared statement and we execute it directly. Note that I don't have an update thing that performs this, so all I'm really doing here is just bad practice doing back-end stuff on a front-end controller. So this whole concept does not follow MVVM, the structure or the framework of it, where we keep the back-end and the front-end separated and connected via a view model. This isn't going to be anything like that. This isn't WPF, and if I went back and did this again, I'd probably just move this function into the database singleton and just pass the STMT in there. So then when we go to delete a marimba, which is also on that same edit page, we simply just pass in the ID, create a statement, and delete. And then afterwards we redirect to management because now there's nothing to view and edit. For the products, this is going to bring us to the products. And note that this is effectively the exact same function as the management one, except instead we're going to the products page. From products, we have every Marimba can be rented. So this is where the users would say, hey, I want to rent this Marimba. They press a button, because I'm not going to add payment systems into a very light work program like this. That's a lot more complex and unnecessary for me here. And all it has to do is update that Marimba based on its ID, say it's rented, and then perform a redirect. That redirect would then, because the products page only displays Marimbas that are currently unrented. So whatever Marimba you press this on will no longer show up on that products page. Next up, we have the edit page. So this one here is just to display the actual, so whenever you redirect to the edit page, it's meant to just simply show up everything, as in the singular Marimba that you wanted to look at. Then for the ad page, this is just a mapping to the ad page. We also have the redirect. Note that whenever you read, so when you add, we aren't passing in anything because you are creating it yourself, and when we redirect, same story. When you add though, we are getting all the information from the form, and then we are performing an insert and redirecting to management afterwards. So I guess I can go over a few of what's in here. So we have two folders under resources on my left side here, static and templates. Within templates, we store all the HTML files, and then within static, we store our CSS images and our JS. So we have images, we have a JavaScript program for, or file script for home HTML, and we have CSS. So we don't really need to go over the CSS, but yeah, it'll basically just affect the styling, so we can ignore it. There isn't anything special about it. But looking at HTML, there will be special stuff here. So let's look at the management page first. Starting off, obviously, we have to have the timely stuff. And whenever you rel link to anything in this, it will go to the static folder. So this is basically, if I have static, if I was pointing, this working directory is pointing to static, and then it goes to CSS and etc., etc. So on this one, we have for each Marimba, in Marimbas, we create a thing here. This is for line items. So for each Marimba, we create a line item in this unordered list. So then for that Marimba, so the one that we selected, we pull the price, width, height, the lowercase condition, model name, number of keys on the actual board, and the identifiers hidden, so we can perform an update later. We also have the update button at the end. th:\action is what points to the post mapping, and so that's how the form knows, or that's how the controller knows what form was being parsed. So I'm going to go ahead and run this directly in here, but I do have a Docker set up for this. Of course, I have no need to actually host this. I just went through with the hosting process to begin learning that. Obviously, note that I can just run this. So I'm going to open this in a browser. And you can see that the page opens up nicely. Now, those of you who have not seen this, this is something I taught myself while learning website development, was to make little image scrollers. So we have a nice image scroller here. The first image here is generated by AI, because electric marimbas look more like this in real life. And some of them do look like this, but I think when I say electric marimba, the real concept was kind of more like you take a drum set and how it becomes it still looks like a drum set, still about the same size as a drum set when you turn it into, when you go from acoustic to electric. So the idea was to take a electric marimba or a marimba and turn it into an electric marimba. Obviously, we have the About Us page and whatnot and all that. We also have, so this will go to see the products page and the management page. Let's start with the products page. So upon clicking on the products page, once again, because we have that for each marimba segment, these are all of the marimbas in that database. I believe there are about 6 of them in the database total currently, that are unrented. These are not rented. So let's rent the new $300 73 key K-class marimba. So I press rent and it's gone. It's rented. RIP bank account, guys. RIP bank account. So let's now go take a look at the management page. Clicking on that, we can see every single marimba, including ones that are rented and some that are not rented. So you can see the one here that we just finished renting is now here, and all the ones that weren't rented are here. We can also add new marimbas. We'll go over that in a second. Let's go ahead and unrent this marimba. Let's just say we learned how to play Super Mario Bros. Theme song on the marimba and we're done with it after a month. Well, we can uncheck rented, say it's used now, and submit the changes. Notice the condition became used. Now to view that it's actually not rented, I'm going to go back to the products page, and now you can see that the K class is back here. So there was also another feature where you could delete them. Of course, I know that it works, but I'm going to show you how to add a marimba before we do that. So you click add marimba, you go to the add page. This is where you just add a new marimba. Not that difficult. So let's do a K class. Let's do 73 keys, unrented. Let's say that it is refurbished. Give it a height of 4 feet and a width of 8 feet and a price of $599 per month. We'll just do 500 per month. Now we had add the marimba and it's added. And at the bottom here, you can see that this is the marimba we just added. So since we didn't rent it, it should also be, yep, there you go. Now let's rent it. You don't need to rent it to do this. I'm just going to display that whenever you hit it, it now shows up here. So let's go ahead and delete this one. As you can see now on the management page, it is no longer present. So the premise of this program is that it performs all of the simple CRUD operations. And when I say CRUD, I mean create, read, update, delete. Effectively all of the base SQL things you can do. So I don't see if this works. I didn't think so. I may or may not have to log into Docker for this to work. But another interesting thing to SQL injection, something I was trying to learn how to do when I originally taught myself SQL. I actually taught myself a semester earlier than I was, like I learned it in class the next semester. But the intention there was actually to learn how to use SQLIs so I could display them on the YouTube, but I never got around to it. I ended up just saying heck it and doing it in 8 languages plus assembly for whatever reason. Anyways, so now that I have Docker open, you guys can see that I have the container here. I can start it, and then it's gonna go to this port. So I believe I can just click it. There we go. Okay, so this is now running off of not in Java. I can close Java now, and it's fine. This will run. And keep in mind that this database, I believe, is different from the one we just were messing with. The reason I can tell you that is because of this line here. Notice how the condition of this K class is still new. The database that's used in the Docker container here is different from the Java program. They're basically like one's they're basically separate entities, more or less. So everything in this will still work. So like say I wanted to rent the K class again. Let's go on, and K class is here. Edit it. We could rent it, use, submit. Notice how it's used, and notice how it's here. I'm not gonna go everything all over again, but yeah, that it works. I hope you guys enjoyed this little video on Spring Boot. I will be seeing you guys in the next one. Peace.